How's it going, everyone? Welcome to kind of a little bit of a bonus edition of the Body Slam TNA post show. How you guys doing? I'm joined by Io, as always. How you doing, man? Coming off a birthday, I might add. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. There we go. Doing good. Enjoying the those are balloons there. Yeah, just coming off, like Bert said, coming off a few days, birthday week. I'm 30 now. Yeah, I'm getting up the old age, and so yeah.
With the, that's not that old. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't know, like when you're surrounded by when you're surrounded by coworkers who are like around the 20 age and it kind of gets to you like, oh man, I'm finishing my 20s and I'm finishing my 20s and some of them are just starting their 20s. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I completely get you. Well, as I mentioned before we get into the show, before I started the show, it wasn't really a busy week of TNA. We do have some stuff to talk about. In fact, obviously, if we did have Halloween Havoc, which 2 TNA matches. Well, I guess you would call it 1.5. We had obviously the title match between the Hardys and Dark State, and then Javon Evans teaming up with Leon Slater versus the team of La Parka and Mr. Iguana. We're going to get into that. But before we do, as some people might have watched, I unfortunately didn't, but I know you did. We had TNA Fade to Black this Thursday in the spot of TNA Impact. But what did you think about that? I know you did watch it, you said. What was your overall thoughts on that?
My props to the production people. They similar to it's very similar to the Slammiversary Fade to Black one they did. It's really good. It's a really good content of like showing us behind the scenes what's going through the minds of the talent and the crew, preparation for the big events, and of course the aftermath and how it feels. It's basically like TNA Reaction in some sort. You remember Reaction, right?
A little bit, but I do remember TNA Reaction.
Yeah, like those ones that they show after Impact and stuff. Yeah, like give us like the in-depth look and like the release, like the little bit of the realism. For Fade to Black, there's no storyline or whatnot or whatever. I mean, as you'll see, like when Santana came back to the curtain, like everybody was celebrating. Trick Williams was there too, so you kind of like show it, kind of like give us pull under the curtain, like shows what's going through the minds of the talent. Yeah, I was gonna tweet out again, like it's a very recommend for everyone to check out. Like you can really see how much of a bond that the crew and roster have. Like how much solidarity is what I'm looking for the brand. And Ray Walt made a good tweet a couple days ago.
Just to add real quick, I completely agree with you. I know I didn't watch this one, but I did watch the Slammiversary one. It's very much like a movie where you buy the DVD. Back in the day, I guess you'd say it would come with the director's commentary with the actors speaking as well. This is very behind the scenes. You know what I mean? This is definitely what happened after. You know what I mean? But just peeling back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah, and it was interesting. Tom Hannafin pointed out that he reached out to Mike Tenay before before the events. Like I guess his way of kind of like getting a few point tips from the professor himself, and it really kind of tells you like how much of a fan, hardcore TNA guy that Tom Hannafin is, which is which is all like hardcore could ask for someone who really pours into like the Rizzo. Yeah. Raywell too. He put a tweet saying that TNA survived because of the lifelong diehard fans. We love you, but I can't count the number of times I've seen young fans with signs like these coming to their first show in the last 2 years. That is real growth. That is real growth. Thank you, and we will not stop. And that's really touching too, because like for a 23-year-old company, like here we are, we're still creating new fans, and that's kind of what it's all about, especially for like the youngsters, like you know what I mean? Like it's like it's like when ECW's been long gone, but like you have young kids who are starting to learn to ECW, and you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, now like you have young fans, going with their parents or coming with their parents or grandfathers or whatnot, and then they're starting to love the brand for a brand that's been around 2002, that's been alive before they were born, and so that's just kind of warm feel.
All yeah, right. They're creating new fans, and the fans that they're creating are coming in at a really good time. The product is hotter than ever, so it's a great time to bring in new fans.
Yeah. All right. So two things out of the Fade to Black. Well, at least three things. So I'll start with the Hall of Fame. As we know, that Mickie James and the Beautiful People went in. You can tell that this was a very big emotional and full circle moment for Velvet and Angelina. Two women who came a long way. Like they've had their tryouts. Other places didn't work out and stuff. I believe Tommy Dreamer mentioned that that when he became like a talent relations head, like Angelina was his first hire. But so to speak, yeah, they both women, they came a long way. Like right before the Knockouts division became official, like TNA was just recruiting a lot of women, and then these two, they're one of the few that stand out, and they haven't looked back. Like from 2007 and then 2008, from 2007 to 2008, like you can really see how much development of the characters from the Knockouts division, like the Kongs, the Gales, the ODBs, and the Beautiful People. So anyway, fast forward, this really you can tell, like this is really a full circle moment for both of them, and then like they're very excited to see how much TNA has grown, especially for the division. And then of course you have Mickie James, the legend herself, someone who's a trailblazer, I wouldn't say a pioneer, so to speak. I mean, she started wrestling in 1999, I think. But yeah, basically a trailblazer, someone who, who was always a fighter, for like women's wrestling, for like women getting the spotlight and shine that they deserve. Like someone who always, supportive of other women, so to speak. Like she's basically kind of like Gail Kim in some sort of way, not only wants to like strive for her own success, but also strive for other women to get more success after them. So, but yeah, basically, for Mickie, she was just happy that also that her best friend Lisa Marie Varon, aka Victoria Terra, was able to give her a good introduction, and which I thought it was too. So yeah. So what were your what were your thoughts on? And I know you watched the Hall of Fame too. I want to get your point of views on the three women.
Real quick, Lisa Marie. Obviously, we know her as Victoria Ivory, not Ivory, but Victoria. I don't know why I said that. She deserves to go in as well. I think that, especially when I started TNA, and I was always a big fan of hers, I think she is very underrated. But I thought she had I think she's a 3-time TNA Knockouts World Champion. Very underrated. I thought her character was great. Yeah, she was great in TNA. Had some great feuds with, obviously, you guys might remember her coming in as the biker at one point who was helping Madison. She was revealed she was the one under the helmet. But I just wanted to say real quick, I think she deserved to go in. But going back to the 3 that went in, beautiful people, obviously no brainers, like everyone talks about. And I was watching as well around that time. The heat they were getting, it's legit. And you know what I mean? Like, not just women's factions of all time. Like, I would say factions overall. I think the beautiful people's name should be recognized and talked about in the, the upper end to that list. And as far as Mickie James, just another person that, like, I wouldn't say a cast off of WWE, but just another one that they kind of didn't see the potential, kind of overlooked. And then she goes to TNA, and just, I think, just the kind of the blueprint of TNA has been built on taking talents like that, and they come and reinvent themselves and have major success. And Mickey's just, a long list of those. But yeah, all 3 are well deserved.
Definitely. Also, before we continue, guys, you also feel free to comment away in the chats. We'll be happy to read your comments. Also, super chat if you want us to answer any of your questions and stuff. All right.
Get the super chats in, people.
All right. One of the big factors out of the documentary was Chris Bay, as who made an appearance at the show, announcing the attendance. Chris was able, for the first time, you could say, Chris was able to kind of like give us a brief down of like the conversation he had with the doctors the night, like the few days after the incident happened. For those of you who don't know, like 1 year ago to the day, I think, or the day after, where Chris had his accident injury. It was the night after Bound for Glory in Detroit. So Chris basically said that when the doctor asked for his girlfriend to kind of leave the room while the doctor have him, like one of those talks, between the patient and the doctor, and how do I put this? Well, I mean, it's obvious. Like, he was paralyzed for like a few days. I guess you could say that when it happened, and basically like the doctors kind of like gonna give him like a heads up, or so to speak, of like, but like, hey, like, like, hey, you might not be able to move as functionally of you, so to speak, but take your time, see if you can move your legs, if you can move, basically, like saying that basically the doctor explained to Chris about body functioning, and like how long is the time to recover, and if he can move his arms and legs. So yeah, anyway, so long story, Chris was, as we know, Chris, he's always a positive guy and always kind of like defined, but as he was explaining it, pretty much at some point it did really kind of like freak him out and scared him. He was even saying like, WCF, like, why me, like,
yeah,
but he, for the most part, like when he was explaining, he did kind of show a lot of hopeful, like, like how do I put this? Like, when a doctor's telling you about your condition, and then you're doing as much as you can to stay positive, and it was tough listening to Chris. It was kind of tough. Like he he when he was in the stretcher, strolling by the window, looking into like when you're watching outside view, you have like that
Yeah,
yeah, you have a lot of thinking like when you're watching by the window
exactly.
and you're trying to see if you can move your legs and so, and like of course here's a guy that was just kind of like paralyzed for like a few days or so. So yeah,
Exactly.
basically it was tough for Chris like a few days after when he was a few days after the injury. But for the guy, thank goodness for the grace of God, he's moving. Um, he's in good spirit right now. He's moving. So I'll just take it to you. What um when you heard the news about what happened to Chris, what was going through your mind? Take me back like a year ago. Like what was going through your mind when you heard about what happened to Chris?
Well, obviously, because like the first thing you hear is you kind of hear news of it before obviously anyone's releasing any videos because that's not what they're going to do. But you just hear the talk of the gravity of the injury, and then obviously you hear the results, and then you finally see like what happened. Like, oh man, I was definitely shocked, just hoping he's okay, hoping he can just fuck worrying if he can wrestle again, just hoping if he can even walk again, and just have like a normal like quality of life at that point.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, it's pretty, and then when you see him, coming out like at BFG, it's like you kind of have to smile. It's like, man, you know what I mean? I'm just glad Chris Bay's, but I'm not talking wrestling again, but just I'm glad to see Chris Bay back, just because going back to that day, that was very scary. You know what I mean? You didn't know what to think or what to expect. You know what I mean? Because it all just kind of happened. But it was very frightening.
yeah. He's a very inspiring guy. Like yeah, you only wish the best for this guy. Like there's you don't hear a bad word about Chris Bay or none. Like
Mhm.
every wrestler, at least I heard every wrestler I've heard every person talk about how much great of a person he is. And for this to happen to him is very unfortunate. But yeah, as I mentioned, thank goodness, like thank God that he's on his feet. He's walking. He's doing the gym again. So yeah, it's I mean, in life we just kind of like think like what, wrestling aside, let's just hope that he's in a good place and see
Yes,
what's next for him. But yeah, it was great. It was great seeing
exactly.
him. It was great seeing him in Bound for Glory. Like, all right. Well, yeah. As speaking of yeah, he did mention the attendance. He did mention the attendance number. Um, earlier in the Fade to Black, Carlos Silva was having a meeting with the crew. Um, basically, telling the team like, "Hey, we're only a few tickets away. Like, I want you to guys to get on your phone, tweet, promote Bound for Glory on the mark." And like that's one of the cool marketing employees I like. Like get all the talent involved, let them know Bound for Glory is tonight. I'm sure you
Hmm.
saw like a lot of wrestlers tweeting like Bound for Glory, this and that. Like that's a cool thing about marketing. Like it's when you get all factors involved in promoting the event. All right.
Well, yeah, especially because
Yeah.
you see how well they do on when they break down numbers of tickets, and they seem to do very well on walk-ups, and that has to be a good thing, just because the idea if you're able to attract fans just like on that split of just like that, people may be walking by or just thinking that day, hey, because if you're in town, why not? I mean that's the point. You want to get people just stopping by. That's the kind of people you want to get as well. You know what I mean? You want to capitalize on that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. I mean, they're using everybody just to kind of get the word out there.
Yeah. All right. And last for the Fade to Black was Santana's daughter. Forgive me, I forgot her name. I forgot her name, but she was kind of like basically showing her proudness for her dad that he's come a long way. You know, he's made better of himself, doing well, um, being the great father that that Mike Santana is. Um, leading up to this very night. Basically, yeah. She's just like a proud daughter, you know. Um, and like when that moment happened, like her being in the ring and them hugging, him presenting the belt to her was a very touching moment. I mean, if for all the fathers out there, and I'm sure it pretty much warmed a lot of hearts. Um, Matthew Raywall made a good comment. Um, a warrior fight. Yeah, he mentioned like a warrior. A warrior fights for something. A father fights for his daughter, type of thing. Like I thought, which is very very accurate or so. So yeah, again, anyone who knows Mike Santana knows like this is a full circle moment. Like this night is very much important because like it's like he completed his redemption. Like he was in a tough spot a couple years back. He lost his dad. Like he lost his dad. He had the fallout, with his tag partner Ortiz. Then he got injured in the Blood and Guts war a couple years back, and then he fell off the deep end, with the addictions, and then to the point where the daughter had to had to beg or write a letter for him to please stop, like please get better. And then as thank goodness, like he took that to heart, and here we are today, like full circle, first Puerto Rican TNA World Champion. So
and that was well.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
No. Continue.
I was just gonna say very well put, Io. How you said like the redemption, because this is in full circle. Because this was just like not only like more about not just winning the title, but yeah, like everything that's led up to this, like the past 2 years, like you said. I just want to say well put, Io.
All right. Oh, so they also showed backstage of the Dudleys and the Hardys, after the match. Devon was talking with his kids, letting them know like that's Daddy's last match and stuff. So yeah, it seems like to wrap up. Yeah, it seems like Bound for Glory was a mixture of culmination, redemption, new beginnings, new chapters, so to speak. So. And that kind of sums up the Fade to Black documentary. Yeah, it's a very good recommend. Especially for the Chris Bay part. Like I think for folks who really get to watch it, you'll really have a deep found of love and respect for Bay. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and check out that part. Just that's because I'm a huge Bay fan. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and check that one out. Okay. We're gonna next. We're gonna get into just a little free agency talk, and this is kind of based on, for me, I want to get into it, just because I don't know. I'm gonna assume just there might be a few of our fans that might watch AEW, but if they did, or if they happen to watch this past Saturday's Collision, they happen to see Nixon Newell, the former Tegan Knox, and Miranda Alizé, who we have not mentioned, but she's another, I would say, free agent that is talked about quite a bit. And when talking about that, they showed up on Collision, and the reason I want to bring it up from the TNA end is because now I'm just kind of looking at the landscape of free agents, and whether people like it or not, I'm not going to get into the WWE cast off, AEW cast off. With TNA going into what we're like to think is a new TV deal, they need some names that are going to get you to watch. If we're going to have more eyes on the product, that means they're going to want more eyes to be watching the product. They're going to expect, to do good numbers. So we need to roll into that with having some names that are, I'm not going to say household names, but people that are familiar with. So I'm just thinking, like, who does that really leave that interests you? You know what I mean? Like, who's a name that is still out there that that could be out there? Obviously, there's going to be some people available soon. But is there anybody that you think that TNA should look at that is worth bringing in?
Um, before I answer that, the thing is, well, TNA they're in a really tricky spot because like they're like they're like uh they're like the third head in the all right, how to put this? They're like in the head of the table, so to speak, or Thanksgiving table, whatnot. They get like they get their turn. They get their turn after first and second, so to speak. So like yeah,
Uh-huh.
free agency. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, free agency is very tricky because you got the two bigger companies above them, and obviously money and stuff. But yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like they're at a point where they need um, they need like some talent that's kind of like at least like start a trend going, get people to like notice like what's going on. So and that's kind of how it was many years back when they got Christian, they got the Dudleys, they got Kurt Angle. Like when I heard Angles in TNA, I was like, shit, let me see what TNA is about and stuff. And then the rest is history and stuff. So um right now, I mean the good part for the TNA that there are still a lot of free agents out there, especially former WWE talent. Um, as far as Nixon and Miranda Alizé, I mean, it could happen. They could be sticking around in AEW. We'll see. I think they're just there for one match for now, but anything can happen. But yeah, for the free agency, Dakota Kai comes in mind, especially for the knockouts. She's one talent that that's kind of like you could say been underutilized. I mean, she was in NXT for the longest time, and you've seen so many talent that come after her reach fame and title status. Especially Raquel Rodriguez. No offense to her, but she came like she was like Dakota's bodyguard, and then all of a sudden she becomes NXT Women's Champion. And then main roster, she was part of a great group, Damage Control. They done well, and then of course EO and Bailey, they went on to do other big things. And then Dakota, of course she had the injuries, so many injuries, unfortunately, that kind of you could say pretty much derailed her run, and as far as I know, almost kind of might be a reason why she got released too, but who knows. But definitely Dakota Kai is one I would say to for TNA to look out, especially because we're at a point where we're in trouble right now with this division. Masha Slamovich, who knows about her status? Ash by Elegance, not clear to wrestle. Kalani, who's an NXT woman, who's basically kind of like keeping, at least keeping interest on that Knockouts title, if you could say so. Um, who, I'm trying to think who else. Of course, a lot of independent talent. Oh yeah. Zeta Steel. Zeta Steel is another. She was from. She was just an Evolve just now, but she's a part of the WWID programming, which which to me is. I mean, that's for another conversation. I have mixed feelings about the WWID program, but anyway, uh, Zeta Steel, she's a very up and comer, very underrated talent. She has some experience. She wrestled in Japan too, so I think That's another one they should go after. A tag team. I'll say a certain tag team that is. I don't know about their status or whereabouts. Uh, Private Party from AEW. From my understanding, I think they're no longer with AEW. I think, but there's another tag team that I think that can really boost up the tag division. And of course, they know the Hardys, so it could be good. If Matt, Jeff can like kind of sway or convince them to come over. So I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, Joseph mentioned, yeah, Kalani is keeping that title relevant. Exactly. We'll know Tuesday. She'll defend the title against Jordan. Yeah, we'll get into that.
When it comes to the whole free agency talk, and I think we've seen this kind of mentioned by a lot of the people in our TNA group chats. It's kind of a thing to I would think worth mentioning. That I think a lot of people are also maybe waiting, and also in terms of signing new deals, because they're also waiting for TNA to get that new TV deal, because that means that they could get more money after that point in terms of, you know what I mean? Because if they re-sign now for what current with TNA on the current network, it might be a lot. It's going to be a lot less than what they could get when TNA gets all that new money, that's the supposed new money. You know what I mean? So that's why I think that you could see a lot more movement after that, because as soon as we know TNA's got that date for they're going to be on a new network, I think up until that point you're going to hear a lot of movement, and I would think that night, obviously, with having their first show, they're going to have some surprises. You would think so, just because they're going to want to do a big number. I know ratings have changed, and especially the way they calculate. I know wrestling numbers have been kind of taking a hit lately, but that's still kind of doing. You still want to do a big number if you're going to be on a top network. They're going to be looking for that. And as far as names that I would look at, you mentioned Dakota. I can't really think of anybody else. Obviously, you mentioned Zeta. I think she's more of an up and comer, but I would think TNA should definitely look at her. And I would say, as far as when people look at like judging, like, if this is like a WWE cast off, and like kind of like looking down on that, the way I would kind of look at that, I think with like WWE kind of acknowledging AEW as competition. And I think now, and people have kind of spun it in a negative light that they're propping TNA up to kind of hurt them. Whatever you want to look at that, I'm not going to get into that. I kind of like will pick out the kind of like the bright spots to that. And the way I can kind of see that as, I could see WWE talent saying to these release talent, or just kind of hinting at, maybe don't go work at AEW. But if you're going to go work anywhere else, I have no problem with you working at TNA. And maybe when it's time to bring you back, or we can find a place for you, you come right back very smoothly. And I have no problem with that if TNA is going to get some talent like that, just because if they're going to get some talent from WWE, again, those are names. And whether people want to like scoff at that or say, oh, I don't want TNA doing that, building their roster out like that, well now then you're not looking at the business side. You know what I mean? They got to be able to have a product that people want to watch, right?
Who's gonna say no to Javon Evans appearing on TNA? I get both sides, especially the hardcores, like who are very how do I put this, in a non-tribal way, like very adamant on TNA talent, which I completely get and understand. But also, you have to also disappoint. Like it's also this is more than just a talent thing; it's a brand. Like,
Yeah.
like how do I put this? Paul Heyman, ECW many years back. If things went the way, I guess you could say Heyman wanted to, like Heyman would have jumped for like having some WWE talent come appear for like ECW, help the brand, help in some way or form. You know what I mean? Like, yes, help WWE, but also help themselves in some way, which is what TNA is doing. They're trying to use WWE, the resources, especially the resources, to help get them back to it, to get back to a promising land or some sort. So yeah, yeah. Who's gonna say no to like turning down certain talent like a Javon or Kalani or Obafemi? Like, for the most part, yeah, NXT they did give us some of their big dogs. Like, you can't deny that. Like, um, what was it? What was it in your thing? You pointed out free agency. Uh,
What was that again?
oh,
What'd you say?
oh, we're still on the free agency thing, right?
Oh yeah, like I was just saying, like again, to your point, I don't think anybody should just be mad at getting like a former name from WWE. And like what really got me thinking about this is, yeah, and I'm not like the biggest fan of him, but like Braun Strowman, for example, he was always a guy who was like when he left WWE, and even like I think the first time he was very like anti-indie, kind of anti-anywhere else WWE. He's very loyal to WWE. I didn't think that he would ever go. I don't think he's ever going to go anywhere. And I'm bringing it up again because I think today I saw him put out something that said something like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm done with wrestling. He's just doing other things." But he seems like a guy who's always going to end up in WWE. But I didn't think he'd end up in like AEW, for example.
Yeah.
But with TNA going into a new TV deal, and if supposedly if they have a date set where they're going to go live on a brand new network, I wouldn't have a problem with him showing up. That's a big name, you know what I mean? People would be talking if Braun Strowman showed up.
He also comes. The thing is, he also comes with a price, and that's where
Yeah,
TNA is gonna have to like, and that's where TNA is gonna have to kind of like draw the line here. Like, am I really willing to spend this money on a dude who I'm not so sure is gonna give like 110 or even a 90% or 80% or even a 75% onto the product that I'm putting money in. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's
but I also real quick I bring him up because you made a brilliant point in our group chat earlier. I forget who mentioned it, but they were just talking about kind of signing everyone to long term deals, and you brought up the beauty of short term
yeah,
deals. And
yeah,
he's a type of guy I think TNA you bring in for 6 months, have him be a monster, and then like how like remember when Jonah came in, he was there
yeah.
for like 6 months. They booked
And
really
they did a
strongly.
lot with
Then you
Jonah.
have him
Yeah,
move on. Just kind of how like Andre, kind of how Andre floated through the territories. That's how you should book a monster. I get the
yeah,
price, but understand at that point, like when TNAs might have a little bit more money, and with the WWE relationship, they'd be like, yeah, go over there 6 months. Especially if he was going to go back to WWE at that point, if he's getting back into wrestling, that I would just think that'd be worth it. You know what I mean? Especially if he is going to work. It's obviously not going to be WWE money, but if it was worth it for him and he was going to like actually put in effort, I agree with you there.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I get what you're saying. A price.
yeah. Yeah, like Joseph mentioned in the chat, it's hard to lock down a talent with for any exclusive time with TNA, as Anthem will do up 6 months at a time. 6 months, yeah, 6 months. 6 months is not bad. Like, for a certain talent who want to do the pay per appearance deal. Like I mentioned in the group chat, like I think they should, for per appearance talent, like 6 months minimum, 6 months at minimum, like 6 months at minimum at least, so that at least that's kind of half of the year. You know what I'm saying? That's like pretty much half of the year, and you can like kind of get most out of the talent between the plus specials, maybe one or two pay per views, and of course, you know, the taping schedule. And then you kind of rotate. You know what I'm saying? Rotate to the next proper talent. For talent to keep on long term, uh, I mentioned, for example, obviously the Moose and Eddie Edwards, who have been here long. Those are the guys who are gonna. Those are the guys, you know, who are gonna like have TNA's back no matter what during the hard times and the low times, and those two are prime examples of that. For developing talent, like a Rascals, Zaya Brookside, Leon Slater, like for them to grow within the brand, like especially because they're all young. Kind of have basically kind of like nurture them along with the TNA brand, nurture them, like have them build their stock like never before, so to speak. And then the veterans, only like a small few veterans who can draw, and of course the Hardys, which I'm referring to, like basically like the Hardys are kind of like in the Kurt Angle and Sting realms, like veterans who still draw, who are known all around the world, so to speak. So basically, yeah, like for me, I would try to like keep the pay per appearance for like a 6 months minimum, sign long term to a core group of talent. And if we can do that right off the bat by the time this TV deal, I think we'd be good for at least I guess you could say the first 7 months of the year. Yeah.
And yeah, I like how you said it too. It's almost just like short. Like it's like you see the same thing in like the NFL, NBA. You have each team has their core group of guys that are on long-term deals. But then the roster is usually just made up of guys on veteran minimums. People come in on 1-year deals, expiring contracts. Not everyone's going to get paid. You know what I mean? And that's how rosters usually. So like when people are asking about roster shakeups, that's usually what happens at the end of the year. You know what I mean? That's usually how it is.
All right. Joseph, Terrence are asking the same question. What do we think of Santana winning the title, BFG, and then TNA basically going dark till turning point? Is that a good look? For the most part, would say no. It's not a good look, especially like coming off high of the Bound for Glory and the the momentum. I know, like, a lot of people have are still on the fence of why TNA not doing episodes. That's, I guess, who knows? That's their own reason, their own schedule. For the good part, I mean, for at least for the good part, TNA is still being talked about every week. TNA still talk about every week. Thanks in part to the WWE relationship. Like you watch NXT, TNA is still mentioned, so at least they're still keeping their name out there. But yeah, I mean. Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, they're not new to this. I mean, they've been doing this since for years, like with the holiday seasons and coming up. But having this in October is kind of strange. So, yeah, not a fan of it. Again, they have their reasons. So, but for the most part, TNA is still talking about weekly. So we're just gonna have to keep counting our days towards November 13th, I believe. But your response.
Real Joe, yeah, we're going to get into it later. Between now and then, we have 2 nights of NXT Gold Rush, and you saw the ad. We're not going to talk about it now, but TNA is going to have a presence on that, along with AAA, I believe, and NXT, obviously. So that's opportunities for TNA. They're going to be there. Santana could be there. I don't think he's going to defend the title, but he could. And so that's okay. And I think it's because they're getting ready for these set of tapings that they're doing, the live one. We're coming in with a live show. It's like 2 back-to-back live shows. It's a live episode of TNA, and then what's the pay-per-view, Io?
Turning Point.
So yeah, it's not an ideal situation, but I think TNA is making the most of it. Real quick, I want to circle back to free agents.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. Yeah, they have Mike Santana and Nick Nemeth. They just did a media tours in El Paso. So it's not like some were saying like, oh, like they're on vacation. I mean, you could say it that way, but the crew, they're still hustling, they're still promoting and stuff. So again, their schedule, their own reasons, but yeah, there's no. I wouldn't say like everyone's taking a day off. No, like they're still promoting TNA.
Exactly, they're out there. They're very good at that. Like you always see them announcing ahead of date. Like again, they already were in El Paso, and they're in Orlando first before El Paso. They're already trying to spread the word of that. So exactly. They're not like just sitting back doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, I want to circle back just because it tied in with the free agency thing. Norris said that he would rather see Killer Cross come back to TNA. With all due respect, I'm going to say no, and I'm not gonna be a dick about it. But what I'm going to say is this: it's because whether I'm a fan or not, notice how the Killer Cross chat died down, and I think it's because I don't think those fans. I think those fans have lost interest and they moved on to another thing because I think it's more just one of those things trying to get engagement on Twitter. You know what I mean? A lot of those check marks trying to, you know what I mean, get clicks. And two, let's say those fans are still there. I don't think that they are going to watch him in TNA just because if they were, I think they would watch TNA to begin with, you know, because there's other things to watch besides him. So I don't see it just being this huge deal if he came to TNA. So you know what I mean? Like I think the fans that he has are waiting for him to go back to WWE. And I don't think he has. I think that was all just kind of like a trend. But I don't see his momentum like it was a couple months ago. You know what I mean? I don't see the "We Want Cross" hashtags. You know what I mean? So
yeah. First off, thanks to Terrence. Yeah, we appreciate the compliment. Um, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, guys, keep the comments going. We'll be happy to answer any questions in super chat. But thank you guys for the comments. Back to Norris. Killer Cross. The Carrying Cross or whatever. The hype, the reason he got over and the hype around because the comments he made during the post show the night after WrestleMania, where he was kind of like basically, I guess you could say like a storyline shoot promo or whatnot, and then of course that kind of went fire, and then of course the "We Want Cross" thing. I'll give the guy credit. Yeah, he knew how to get himself over with the internet and the crowd. But the thing is, like, that can only get you far. And unfortunately, Jey Uso is finding that out right now. As you see the YouTube dislikes, he's getting. But that's for another convo. Um, I was interested in the character at one point with Cross. Back when when he had like the shaved head and the mystique and entrance. But that's the thing, like I'm only intrigued in the character. And then of course you got the bell ring and then this and that. So but yeah, I mean, hey, I mean not to put much blame on the guy. I mean, you gotta blame WWE's booking too. Like, I mean he was NXT champion and he lost to Jeff Hardy within a matter of seconds. Then of course he had that famous promo with Adam Cole, where Cole basically kind of like buried him in some way, about his in-ring skills. But then he gets released and then he gets come back and then he grows his hair, kind of looks completely different. And then of course he had the programs with then he was teaming with AOP, the Final Testament. You remember that group, right?
yes,
yeah. So to pretty much sum it up, he's going to be a costly guy too. So, and I mentioned this too with Braun Strowman. Like, are you really going to put that much? And I hope you're hearing this, Norse. Like, are you really going to put that much money on a guy that you don't know is going to put 110% or 90 or 80% into the product? Like, that's one thing you got to ask yourself. So, yeah.
The guys that they should be throwing the guys or girls they should be throwing big money out, for example, are like a Dakota or like trying to bring Wes Lee back, or in the event that Gianna becomes available when her deal's up. You know what I mean? Got people are going to believe in the product and are there not just to get a payday. You know what I mean?
Take Nick Nemeth, for example. Like Nick, for all intents and purposes, you need to be doing this, but you check, his Twitter, and then he's saying his media on his media, like he's really putting it all in, and he's still on a pay appearance, but you can tell he really enjoys being in TNA and supporting the product and stuff.
And he's been doing some, because Nick obviously Dolph Ziggler, I thought should have left WWE way before he did, and he's doing some of his best work, whether people want to agree with that or not, in TNA. So, you know what I mean? It's at least it's fresh. You know what I mean? Like, he seems rejuvenated in TNA. You know what I mean? So, but I completely agree with you, Io. Okay, before we move, we're gonna move on. Unless you had anything else you want to say on that topic, Io, free agency topic.
I think it's about it. It's right now I know they're like, as our buddy Gerard mentions, like around this time, this is like negotiation season. So there's talent that they're trying to like keep. Some talent might be on their last deal. Just my own thinking. But yeah, definitely some talent they're trying to keep and some talent they're trying to bring in. So by the time we hit November, and December, January, you can see a shift with the TNA. That I'm sure of. So.
Yeah, I expect again. We keep mentioning like the talked about TV deal. I think the rosters are going to look very different when that all comes into fruition.
All right.
Okay. We're just going to get a couple of fun best of TNA moments, and we're going to start with, and you're going to have to help me with the exact year part. But I believe it was 13 years ago. I think 2012. Was it 2012 or 2013? The AJ Styles one. We're going to start with that one. Yeah, it was 2013 at Bound for Glory, where AJ Styles won his last TNA world title. I believe that was his second, but I thought it was a little bit more. But is it because did he have was he an NWA champion when he was in TNA?
Three-time NWA,
right?
Three-time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Three-time and two-time TNA.
Yeah. This was a very interesting moment, just because what led up to it, you knew, obviously the internet was around a lot back, as much as it is now. The Twitter was around, so people knew the contract status. So, and obviously they were kind of building the whole storyline around that. But for him to win this, and then obviously what to happen afterwards, and then obviously we know he went into his whole storyline with taking on Dixie and Dixie's champion Magnus. You know what I mean? It was kind of shitty, because we didn't really realize we were losing AJ. You know what I mean? Especially if you knew what was going on behind the scenes, and them asking him, we've talked about them. I believe they asked him to take a pay cut. It was kind of sad, this moment, in a way.
You're 100%. As they say, blurred between the lines. As they say, the same blurred between the lines. Yeah. At that point, AJ, changed his whole demeanor and look. He grew out his hair, coming out to evil ways. Wins the Bound for Glory series, and then all of a sudden gets into a storyline feud with Dixie Carter, and then this is where Dixie started to become again another heel authority. Basically becoming the annoying Stephanie McMahon character and stuff. Real quick, Joseph mentioned AJ admitted to Chris Van Vliet that TNA was in a bad state when he left. They wanted him to work on a contract that was 50% less than he was making. Yeah, I'm going to mention that in a few minutes. I remember this vividly. This at the I kind of figured, he was going to win the world title, because at that point I was kind of pretty much sick with the Aces and Eights. You know what I'm saying? They've been running roughshod for over a year now. Bully had the title for months, Um, but yeah, what got weird is like AJ instead of focusing on Bully Ray, he was focusing on Dixie Carter, and this kind of in a funny way. I know Bully might get a laugh at that if he ever hears this. Like he became like the third wheel. You know what I'm saying? Like there's AJ, there's Dixie. Or no, sorry. There's Dixie, there's AJ, and then there's Bully. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
in towards of that feud, and then of course the infamous segment Hulk Hogan with and Dixie Carter, where Dixie was telling Hogan which side is he going to win, and then Hogan quits. And then, of course, you had that infamous segment where Dixie was on her knees, crawling towards Hulk. At that point, yeah, many probably figured like this was probably a low point. Like the president of the company is on her knees, uh, crawling towards Hogan to like. Well, we'll talk about more Hogan about another time. But yeah, at that point, yeah, I just figured like, what are we doing here? So yeah, before we get into the match, yeah, it's yeah, it became more apparent. Yeah, it became more apparent. Like things did not look things looked just more than like a storyline. It seems like AJ was considering maybe not resigning. Um, I didn't really put that into thought like until I heard he wasn't until I heard uh, um uh, or spoiler until I heard when he dropped the title to Magnus, and then I figured like, oh shite. But we'll get into that in a minute. So yeah, you want to get into the match?
Yeah. And
All
you
right.
think dropped it to Magnus in the properly named Wheel of Dixie match, which was a complete
Oh wait! I
fucking.
meant the Bound for sorry, I meant the Bound for Glory match. You want to get into that?
No, no, yeah, I was just mentioning that real quick. Yeah, no, the Bound for Glory match again. Yeah, you know, I thought it was a solid. It was a solid match. Again, like you said, I was kind of tired of the aces and eights. It was. It just be kind of sucks because when you watch it now, it's like you know what happens because when you're watching at the time, like you're kind of still thinking, man, it'd be really cool, like AJ going on a run at this, and a lot of people for him to feud with after. But then
Yeah,
for what it wasn't just a very good run, you know what I mean? So while again, I the match was fine. It's just so sour just looking at Matt through modern eyes. You know what I mean? Just
yeah.
because like everything that happened. But
If
what
it
did you
was,
think of the match?
all right, I was gonna say if it wasn't for this match and the Kurt Angle Bobby Roode match, this pay per view would have been a flop. And I mean, I guess you could say Ultimate X too, but yeah, this pay per view would have been a flop. Like I wasn't happy with some of the results, like the Bromans beating Storm and Gunner out of nowhere, especially out of nowhere. EC3 making his debut against the Jobber. Like, come on. Uh, Gail Kim having Lady Tapa help her win the guest title. But yeah, anyway, fast forward. The match was pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, it's Bully Ray, and AJ. They have good history and chemistry. Uh, but the thing is, I mentioned like this whole feud is basically like a 3-person feud involving Dixie Carter. So I mean, yeah, Ace and Ace got involved or whatever's left of them. I remember the one spot where AJ did the 450 and land crashing through the announce table. That was a cool spot. And yeah, Dixie got involved, threatening Earl Hebner not to make the 3 counts. And then of course AJ with the spiral tap, probably one of the last few spiral taps he's done. And it was a good moment after the bell rang. He AJ celebrated with the crowd. I thought that was a great moment. But yeah, little did we know. Yeah, little did we know. those were like kind of like the last few AJ Styles appearances because the Impact after that he did this whole basically it was similar to what CM Punk did. You know, you remember obviously you remember the CM Punk storyline in 2011. Yeah. Where he takes the title and then he walks out. That's kind of like what AJ did. Only this time only this time where he actually how do I put that? He was actually gone for some time, I guess you could say. Like, he defended in Japan and Mexico. They were doing. I remember the Friends of AJ vignettes. You remember those?
Yeah, I'm glad you just. I was going to mention that. Yes, that was what the funny thing was, and we not only got those, and like it was like tapes. It was kind of like how like when they had someone just like gave them the commentators on Nitro that tape from Roddy Piper, and they played it. You know what I mean? They just kind of play this tape, Friends of AJ's, and not only did we get that, but we got the hilarious segment where the whole show, because this feud did produce some funny stuff. Where we had Rockstar Spud dressed in one of his outfits. He goes to Gainesville, Georgia, and he's just kind of looking for AJ Styles because like Dixie wants the title back, and it kind of ends up with him at AJ's house. You know what I mean? He's kind of been looking for AJ the whole show.
Yeah.
You remember that one, Kyle? That was a very funny one. Yeah, no, it was. They were able to do some fun stuff with it, but again, just going back to it, it could have been so much more. But obviously now we know why it couldn't have been more because AJ was obviously gonna go. You know what I mean? They weren't gonna do it.
And Joseph mentioned the 50% pay cut. You can't blame AJ Styles, for that. It's like for a guy who's basically the golden boy, the face of the company, having to take a pay cut all because of your bullshit mistakes. Like, I don't blame him leaving. It's just kind of sad how his run ended, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's kind of like what bugs me the more. Like, they didn't really give him the proper farewell match that he got. Like, the match with Magnus, like I know, like how to put this, like I was watching it again, I think like a month ago or so. Like, they had so many guys coming down, interfering in the match, basically killing off any steam or whatever Magnus had, because like he's your world champion, and you're having these many guys coming out to his, you know what I'm saying, like coming down to his knees to take down one guy. Like,
yeah,
AJ only had Sting. AJ only had Sting on his side, and you had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys interfering. Like, what the heck? So basically, Bound for Glory. Yeah, the match was good. Little did we know that it was going to be AJ's last time, and of course I didn't like how it ended, so I'll just leave it at that.
And also just because that the whole
I agree, Joseph. Yeah, I agree, Joseph. Yeah, the farewell was horse ass.
Yeah, especially because too, like, them asking like AJ to take a pay cut, and obviously that's because they're bullshit. And then you obviously go on to see what AJ goes on to do in Ring of Honor, New Japan, kind of. They were just hotter than ever, both those companies. AJ probably had his best run of his career. You know what I mean? At that point, it's just like, come on, man. How do you ask the franchise to take a pay cut like that? Yeah. So, and then to Joe's point, obviously the farewell. That did suck. Okay. We have just one more best of. Obviously, we're going to go into. It was I don't know if it was the year before. It was the year before. I don't know what show it was, but it was. What were you saying?
2011. Like, we're going back like at least 2 years, like 2011. Yes. Yeah.
It was 2011, and it was James Storm versus Kurt Angle, and What did Kurt Angle beat him in like 30 seconds?
Yeah, I love the whole build towards that, like the whole Bound for Glory build and the aftermath. Like this was a great aftermath. Yeah, it could continue.
Yeah, what show was it? What was this on Bound for Glory? This match?
No, it happened after.
The
impact after. Yeah.
Yes, because on Bound for Glory, Kurt Angle did defend Bob because on the Bound for Glory before it was all about Kurt Angle, Bobby Roode getting his title shot. And this is before Bobby Roode turned heel. All about him, he worked really hard. He won the BFG tournament, like he was getting his shot against Kurt Angle, and he did not win. And so then obviously James Storm gets a world title shot, and so for him, and then and I don't know why they fucking had to go 30 seconds, which not much of it, or however long it did, not much of a match. But for what this to like lead up to, like, and we know again this is backstage shit because Hulk, ruining shit again, Notorious.
Yeah.
Like what this like led to, and like what it could have led to, because for them to pull the trigger on Bobby Roode's heel turn was phenomenal. What this led to after, but for them to rush it, you know what I mean? Because James Storm winning was a great moment. James Storm was so over. The Cowboy character was such a fan favorite. He should have been world champion. It should have been longer than whatever, a week or a month or however long they.
Yeah. Before I get to Storm, when you look at Bobby Roode, you could say like it worked out for the better. I mean, that Bound for Glory match with Kurt kind of really led to the beer bottle turn. What he did with Storm, as I'll mention later. And I know, like, rumor has it, Hogan was behind the finish of Angle going over and whatever. But yeah, for Roode's character, you could say it worked out for the better. But yeah, anyway, James Storm. Yeah, you could say 30 seconds. You could say it kind of makes sense because it protected the super kick Storm uses. Like, it's a very lethal. Back when super kicks were protected, you know what I mean? It did that part. So yeah. Beer Money. Beer Money. We're in the Bound for Glory series. Roode ends up winning. Basically, Storm was kind of like the supporting figure going in. And then when Roode didn't get the job done, James Storm stepped up to challenge Angle, and then of course that big title win, and that's only actually one of my favorite TNA moments because the crowd was so loud as F once that 1, 2, 3 count, and it felt like, wow, like here's this guy who was a tag team wrestler for the longest time. Like, I'm pretty sure nobody ever thought he would become a world champion. So I mean, Storm pretty much came a long way leading up to that, with the AMW run, and then of course Beer Money run. So like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. And then I agree. Like, I wish he had a longer reign. I'm mad as hell he never even won the title back. So but yeah, at least it did count. It led to like obviously the Bobby Roode heel run. So like you could say it served a purpose, especially for Bobby Roode. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, like it further made, like, the beer bottle made Bobby Roode into the heel, into the it factor. Like, they needed that moment. But yeah, they didn't need to squelch James Storm. Like, I just looked at, he was champion for 8 days. You know what I mean? Like, that just had like,
it made
WCW.
It made Roode a piece of shit heel that they needed, and made Storm the sympathy babyface.
Yeah, like I would have loved to have seen, James didn't have a long run, but like, come on, like, let's build something up to like have Bobby Roode like turn on him, like, a little bit after, you know what I mean? So make it mean something a little bit more. And then James should have at least got the title back, but he never did. Like they blew that whole thing. You know what I mean? But again, we know what was going on back then. The best people weren't running TNA at that point. So
Yeah, that's for sure.
okay. Before we move on to our next subject, our next topic, I just want to remind everybody that this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up of not psychedelic, but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move, it might actually stick rather than forgetting immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has reishi, which decreases stress. It has turkey tails, boosts your immune system. And we all know you're going to need that when you're on those nasty ass gym mats. On top of all that, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to eatstreambar.com and use code BODYSLAM at checkout for 25% off your first order. Okay. Next, we're going to move into actually a little bit. We did have some wrestling this weekend on the TNA side. I don't know how many of you watched. I know I did, but we did have NXT Halloween Havoc last night, and there were two TNA matches. There were 2 matches with TNA representation in them, and so we're just gonna get into those real quick. We had Leon Slater and Javon Evans. Man, that's like the team of the future right there, taking on the team of La Parka and Mr. Iguana. I want you to start out with this one, but yeah, I thought this was a fun match though. But yeah, what do you think about this?
This was a great match to open up the pay-per-view. What I like is that how well similar both Javon and Leon are. It's like obviously both guys are the same age, they move the same, they have the same you could say similar personalities and stuff. So I can see why WWE, NXT or TNA or whatever, like they wanted to kind of like keep this pair going. Going up against La Parka and Mr. Iguana. Wow, La Parka looks different. Hink hink. Mr. Iguana, yeah, Mr. Iguana, yeah, he's mad over. Like, as soon as like that music hits, people go nuts for him. Yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed the opener. It was kind of like how it was kind of like a similar X Division tag title match. A lot of good spots, a lot of good high speed flying around the ring, all between all 4 men, and of course, I forgot Mr. Iguana's friend. I forgot his name. The little iguana's name. I forgot. But
I believe it's Yeska.
Yeska. Oh yeah. Yeska. Yeah, got involved. This is a great way to kind of like boost up the credibility for Javon and Leon, as they seem to be at least for now, a tag team, you could say, of some sort. As we'll get into them more later about that. But WWE folks, seeing what Leon Slater is about, the X Division champion. Oh, getting to win the Swanton 450. They have good chemistry, Slater and Javon. So we'll just see what's next. And will we get the one-on-one rematch that Dark State ruined? I'll get into Dark State in a few.
Yeah, no, this was a very fun match. It's the kind of match that you open up a show with, whether it's TV or pay-per-view. It's high speed, it's a lot of action, a lot of high spots. You know what I mean? A lot of quick action. This is the kind of match that gets the crowd hyped. Yeah, the crowd was very hyped. But yeah, this was a fun match. And yeah, Javon and Leon work very well together. Okay. Our next match, as you alluded to, one of the teammates, we had Dark State, and I really did not know that it was going to be all of Dark State taking on the Hardys. And, I'm gonna sound, like an old man here. It was kind of promoted as like a Broken Hardys match. You know what I mean? I love the Broken Hardys at the time. This was a little bit of, I would say, nostalgia, a little bit too late. Because I don't know how well the Broken Hardys sing it, how over that is nowadays. But yeah, like I said, it was the Hardys versus all of Dark State. And to me, from the beginning, this just was kind of like, Dark State who didn't look their best in the first match. This is Dark State being booked to get their heat back. You know what I mean? So while it wasn't all of the four members the whole time, the Hardys were able to kind of like neutralize two of them at one point. Yeah, this was pretty much a Dark State beatdown. But what do you think about this, Io?
I enjoyed it. You could say like
Yeah.
a lot of the table spots, ladder spots, chair spots, like a regular Hardy's match, style and whatnot. It was good, seeing the broken characters, and of course, the announcer calling Matt Hardy broken Matt Hardy, because back in WWE
Yeah.
he was woken Matt Hardy.
Yes.
So yeah, like you mentioned, this was a 4-on-2 match. I'm surprised. Yeah, no one really kind of came into the defense. The Hardys, like, no Hank and Tank, no Slater and Javon, not even Joe Hendry. It's surprising, like, for a guy, here's a guy who has problems with Dark State too. Like, no Joe Hendry there. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I wish I was that Dark State were going to regain the titles. Basically they're basically, I guess you could say this was just the reason, like, they got the Hardys got the titles, which was kind of like to add more to the Bound for Glory match with the Dudleys, and then of course they'll drop them back. But yeah, again, it was a spot match. The swantons, the leg drops, the weapons, and fall. And then, of course, it led to I think the Doomsday move they did. Dark State towards Jeff on the table. And that was pretty clever, to capitalize on while Matt was upside down on the turnbuckle. So yeah, yeah. I guess that's about it. I guess that it'll be interesting what's next for the Hardy as far as NXT goes. I guess that's about it. Who knows? But after the match, they showed Slater and Javon bummed out about the Hardys losing, and they have interest in going after the NXT tag titles. So we'll see what next for there.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I could definitely see them going there. That would definitely be like an exciting team, and we haven't seen a team of someone from NXT and NXT hold a team from someone from TNA and NXT hold titles together. So that would be interesting. And I want to just real quick, because the last thing we were going to finish up with was NXT Gold Rush, because they promoted that. And I misspoke earlier when I said that it was next week. It is not. So we don't have really any new TNA stuff unless somebody appears on NXT. But we're going to talk a little bit of Gold Rush just real quick to kind of like hype up to what we know. I believe we saw it's going to be Columbia taking on Jordan, right? Is that one of the matches that we got?
It's happening Tuesday, not on Gold Rush.
Oh, no, Tuesday. Okay. Well, yeah, I definitely want to get into that because that is definitely interesting just because, you got somebody from NXT holding the TNA title, taking on someone who is in NXT but is synonymous with that TNA title, a legend, I would say, Jordan. So that's going to be very interesting where they go, you know what I mean? Because I could see people pulling for Jordan on that one. What do you think they're going to go, Io?
I'm very interested in this matchup. Very interested in different styles with Kalani and Jordan. I will give credit, like, they've done well building up towards it. Like, you can see like Kalani, she's kind of like moving towards a heelish, I guess you could say. Like I don't know, like it wasn't a while ago she was a baby face, but now she seems like the arrogance is like it's kind of turned her heel. Basically, kind of dissing Jordan at every cent. What bugs me, I wish Jordan could have like clapped back and said, if it wasn't for me, there wouldn't be no partnership. You wouldn't be able to get your hands on that title. Like Jordan should at least said that because
Uh-huh.
she's, you know, what I'm saying she's letting Kalani like diss on her and not doing anything until she did slap her from yesterday. So yeah, this should be very interesting. What'll be interesting is like oh yeah, Gold Rush. You mentioned Gold Rush. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, championships from Evolve, NXT, TNA, and AAA will be involved. I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. That
Definitely.
yeah, that WWE is giving more spotlight to their brands and of course the TNA brand. So it should be very interesting. And it's also a 2 week thing. So I expect like a 2 week uh takeover card, you could say, or close to.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, yep, I mentioned
TNA
about
used
too.
to,
Yeah, yeah,
oh no, I was to say, kind of like when TNA kind of like lost like some pay-per-views back in the day, they would do those TV specials, you know what I mean? Like a 2 week TV special. Or, AEW would do it too, like a special 2 week, like really stacked cards, you know what I mean? But yeah, I expect both those shows to, especially with all those promotions to be involved, to really get some creative matches. I'm looking forward to like who we're going to see, especially on the AAA side. So yeah, I'm looking very very much forward to that.
so
Okay, we're going to wrap things up here. Uh, Before we get out of here, any final thoughts? I know next week we kind of have that TNA like Hardy's Halloween celebration, I believe it is. I don't
mm,
know what we're going to get in terms of matches, if any. I could see them doing some. I would hope that they would do some sort of never before seen stuff. But again, as long as they're doing something to keep TNA being talked about, I guess that's all we can
yeah,
ask for at this point, if they're not doing anything new. But any final thoughts?
yeah. I'm going to assume like we're probably gonna like keep they're gonna keep coming up with different content like this. That's kind of like what they're doing, like different
Yeah.
content. Um, as we head towards the live episode November 13th. But for the Halloween special, expect a lot of cinema. Uh,
Yeah.
Basically, almost similar to like that one time where Impact did like a Hardy House Hardy episode. Where the TNA
Uh-huh.
talent involved. I can see
Yes.
TNA. Yeah, I can see TNA talent appearing. In the Hardy House, and then have a little cinematic entertainment night. But hey, some yeah, if you watch it, cool. If you didn't, that's all right. So that's yeah, definitely TNA will still be talked about. On Tuesdays. So it's not like the brand will be ice cold. Absolutely not. It's like the brand's still getting mentioned. So folks just gotta hang in there. TNA folks just gotta hang in there and stuff. So
Exactly. Just to kind of like make light of it, whether it's positive or a lot of times unfortunately negative. TNA is always being talked about. So you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's always out there, you know what I mean? But with that being said, I just want to thank you guys all for joining. I want to remind you guys all to like and subscribe so you get notified whenever we go live, whenever one of the great and many people go live at Body Slam. And with that being said, thank you guys all and have a good night.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank you.